So the first thing I want to say before we begin this video, so as not to confuse people, this video is not about whether or not 17 and 18's energy can be sensed, because if you watch Dragon Ball Z, and it's once again reiterated in Dragon Ball Super, they don't have ki in the same way that other Dragon Ball characters do. They are very different in that sense, and I'll be covering that in a separate video to explain sort of how 17 and 18 work to the best of my ability. This video right here is meant to clarify some confusion that came out of Dragon Ball Super manga chapter 36. In my review for Dragon Ball Super manga chapter 36, I talked about how 17 in the manga states that he does not know how to sense energy. And I said, wait a minute, I really could have sworn that he could. And some folks were saying, well, no, he actually can't. And the manga says this. And I'm like, wait a minute, the anime, though, says this. So this is one of those contradictions that I thought, let me look into this, because I never really thought about this. So let's go ahead and have a discussion about whether or not 17 and 18, specifically those androids, can sense energy.
この番組はご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りします。
Okay, so if you watch Dragon Ball Z, you know that 17 and 18 are very different androids from 16, 19, and 20, and also the movie ones in Cell. They're all different types of androids. 17 and 18 are very unique models. Their real names are Lapis and Lazuli. They were at one time human beings that were modified, genetically enhanced with technology. They don't absorb energy like 19 and 20 do, and they're not 100% synthetic like 16 is. I know that most of you guys already know that, but we're always getting new subscribers and newer fans, and some didn't remember, and it's something that I want to quickly go over just to explain to them. So this was also confirmed in Dragon Ball Guidebook Daizenshuu 7, like everything I just told you. But then we get to the contradiction, which is, can they sense energy? Can 17 and 18 sense energy? And even though 17 and 18 have the ability to project energy by modifying the protons and neutrons around them and sort of creating an igniting ki, their internal energy cannot be sensed even by the most acute martial artist. But what about sensing energy? Well, if we go back to Dragon Ball, the way that Mr. Popo explained sort of how to sense your opponent's energy was that he would sort of use his energy and project it out and sort of see if he got a response back, kind of like a radio signal is kind of the best way to explain it. So if 17 and 18 don't have energy that works the same way that others have, how can they sense energy? Well, if we go back to the original manga, there's a very interesting scene where during the confrontation between Piccolo and Cell, 17 and 18 feel an explosion, and they ask 16 to kind of clarify what's going on, and that's when we first find out that 16 has special sensors that can sense energy built into his, his body, or his construct, I guess you can say. But at the time, he had no idea who Piccolo and Cell were, because remember, Piccolo had just fused with Kami and was sort of a new entity, and they had no clue who Cell was. Remember, this was his first appearance, and 17, of course, egotistically assumes that it's a malfunction because there's no power in the world that rivals him, because, yeah, he's 17. So, that would lead you to believe that 17 and 18 cannot sense energy. But we're not done, because there's actually a contradiction coming up. Another thing that would kind of make you somewhat validate that they can't sense ki, or at least use it the same way, is the Daizenshuu entry for the ability to fly in the traditional sense. What I mean by traditional sense is without using Bukujutsu, which is the actual technique using ki to fly, as opposed to actually using wings or anti-gravity devices. And it specifically lists that 16, 19, and 20 have anti-gravity devices inside of their bodies to fly, which probably means that if 16, 19, and 20 were in the tournament of power where Bukujutsu was disabled, they could probably still fly. Same thing with characters that have wings like, Tambourine and characters like that. But 17 and 18 use Bukujutsu. Now, obviously, like I said earlier in the video, they have the ability to, manipulate the protons around them and use the energy around them. but their use of energy is different from a traditional martial artist. However, there are contradictions. The first one comes in the Buu saga. When Majin Buu was first hatched, 18 makes a comment about sensing a huge ki. She said she sensed a huge ki. Now, this is not in the manga. This is anime only, so that may change things, but that's not all. In the Yo Son Goku and His Friends Return 2008 Jump Super Anime Tour Special, 18 specifically says that she can sense Abo and Kado's energy. So what I'm kind of thinking is going on here is either this is a plot hole to a degree, or maybe, you know, depending on how you feel about that Jump special, which was written by Toriyama, by the way. The original story was written by him. You might be able to just write it off as being just anime only, you know, filler or whatever the case may be. But to me, I think a more logical explanation is the fact that 17 and 18 were originally humans that were upgraded to being meta-humans. Androids, cyborgs, whatever. And we know in Dragon Ball that humans can learn ki. We see Videl learn how to fly. We see Master Roshi, Yamcha, and Krillin using techniques in battle that everybody else can do. These are just regular human beings who can do stuff like this. So it would make sense to me that 17 and 18 at some point did learn, or at least 18, not 17, at least 18 learned how to sense ki in the more traditional sense. Like maybe Krillin taught her, or maybe sometime during the 7-year time skip between, you know, the Cell and the Buu saga, you know, she learned it through training. To me, that actually makes the most sense. And it could be that even though 17 was training really hard, maybe he just never learned how to do it like 18 did. That's what makes the most sense to me, but it's never outwardly stated in the series, so I can't write it off as being fact if it's not outwardly stated, but it makes the most sense. It's either a plot hole or he learned it. Let's not forget that Frieza, in the anime version of Resurrection F, it was implied several times that Frieza learned how to sense God Ki. Did a video with MJXTV about this, you know, like a year ago, where in the movie version, it just wasn't like that. And it could be one of those situations where the writers of whatever story is going on, whether it be Toyotaro in the manga or the various writers of the anime or whatever the case may be, decided to put that in there and didn't remember that manga panel from so many years ago where it appears like 17 and 18 have to ask 16 to sense it for them because they can't do it. And another small thing that could be brought up, but we're kind of stretching it here a bit, is that during the fight between 18 and Goten and Trunks as Mighty Mask, it appeared like 18 could sense how strong they were, but later on when Gotenks first kind of was formed, everybody was stunned at their power except Videl, 18, and Chi-Chi, who just kind of stared there like whatever. It just seemed like she could have reacted better, but again, we're kind of stretching things there. In fact, if you really want to dig deeper, there's actually a lot of contradictions here when it comes to their ability to sense energy and vice versa, even with the other androids. For example, take 19 and 20. In the Android saga, they were able to quickly realize when Goku transformed, his new power shocked them and was much higher than anything they were able to calculate. So they have to have some kind of built-in radar or scouter or something, but even though they were technological terrors, they were not martial artists, which is why Piccolo had to explain to Android 20 that he and the others are able to increase their power when they fight. So again, it's just one of those things that sort of does make sense, but there are again contradictions. The inorganic androids definitely had power sensors built in, while the ones that were based off of humans like 17 and 18 perhaps did not. But because they're human, they can obviously learn and adapt and become stronger. So at the end of the day, 17 not being able to sense ki in the manga to me was kind of a lazy plot point in my opinion, and I think it could have been executed a lot better. I mean, the dude got so much stronger during all that time that he was away from everything. You would just logically think that he would be able to easily learn how to detect energy, and it makes sense that 18 could do it. Why couldn't 17? It just seems like it was something that I'm not a big fan of it, but I had to do the video because people were saying that I was wrong, others are saying that I was right, and the answer is, well, it's neither one. It's just fill in the gaps however you please. What do you think? Let me know. Do you agree with me that Toyotaro kind of slipped up there and that it would make more sense if 17 did learn how to do this, even if he couldn't before? Or do you think that, hey, he's trying to be consistent with the original manga? Who cares? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe, spread the word. Of course, hit the notification bell because YouTube's been broken for quite some time, and some of you may not get my videos when they come out. I thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. Remember to take care of yourself and each other.